What's up, beautiful people? DH here. I've been wanting to do some videos on relationships for a long time. I'm not saying I'm the relationship doctor by any means, but I feel that there's a lot that we can work on collectively if we're in a partnership, is what I'm really referring to, is how we can evolve current partnerships that we're in, and also what it's like to create what I would say divine partnership, something that feels so connected and so aligned and so beautiful and harmonious and peaceful and loving and unconditional. What I'm learning in partnerships that maybe have been around for a while is it's as you're evolving personally. For instance, I'm no longer the DH from when I was 5 years old, 7 years old, 25, 35, not even 40. And so we're constantly evolving personally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally. We're constantly expanding. So when we're in partnership and we're looking at the same person so frequently, that person is typically evolving and expanding in their own way. And so in order for us to create what we initially had, the initial creation of two beings is this energy, this frequency that's like magnetic. It's like, and it just brings people together to create something, to co-create. Some of it is for procreation, some of it is co-creation, and some may be short-lived, and some may be long. You know, I used to think that the only evaluation and barometer of a successful partnership was longevity. I used to think if you were married and it was for 40, 50 life, that was a success. And I maybe carried a little bit of judgment when it didn't work out. But when I went through my own experience preceding my divorce, all of those programs and those ideas, they shattered. I don't believe those things to be wrong or incorrect. I don't really work in that world, but I do believe that's only one way. And I believe that ultimately, if we can go deep into our souls, like all we want to be is happy. Well, what makes us happy, right? Living in alignment, living our truth. And our truth is different than others, right? We are all one and we are all connected. However, we are on our own little path that we were sent here to go on. Sometimes that path has all kinds of detours in order for us to live our journey. And that's where gratitude comes in. But when it comes to relationship, if you're in a relationship that you want to succeed, there's some things that won't allow it to succeed. And inevitably, that rubber band, that string, that will break. And it doesn't ever have to be ugly. Like, we are moving and evolving past things being ugly. There can be beautiful and harmonious exits to pretty much everything. I know that force and control and expectations are killers in relationships. And sometimes the old relationships, they ride on these coattails. They ride on the assumptions and the expectations, and which turns to control. And what happens is it becomes really domesticated. It becomes like a domesticated partnership, and you miss and you lose sight of that energetic connection, that vibration, that magnetism that was created initially. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that can be recreated. That may have had a time on it. That may have been, 5 years. And then that vibration, it just goes, it's like dust in the wind. And sometimes we try to hold on to it because of why? Because of what? And we just need to be okay with the process of how things are, like the death and the rebirth, how things are supposed to come and how things are supposed to go. So those are some things that I wrote down. So there needs to be a reevaluation, right? Like if you're starting to feel these things and things are starting to come up for you, where like you're not seeing eye to eye, there may be some arguing, there may be some bickering, there may be some antagonizing. You got to go back to the frequency and of the vibration that brought people together. So reevaluate, write out, like, what do I want in this partnership? What do I want in partnership? Why am I in partnership? Why am I in partnership? Write these things out. These things, once you start expressing, and I read this in my book today, it's expression is the opposite of depression. So if you find yourself in depressive thoughts and sad thoughts, victim consciousness, you need to find your ways, your means to express yourself through expression, through singing, through voice, through writing, through music, through art, through just shouting, and through physical exertion, those types of things. We need to find our way to get it out. Intention, we've got to set an intention of what we want. You know, if you're in partnership, you should have 15 minutes per day of intentional intimacy, intentional connection with your partner. No phones, not talking about the bills, not talking about anything domesticated. Checking out of the domesticated realm and dropping in and looking that person into the soul. You know, get hand in hand, breathe together, hold each other, connect. These things can be created. They may be laying dormant, but if your frequency is still a match and you're meant to stay together, it won't take long to reactivate these types of things. Relationships is about growth, personal growth, support, and unconditional love. What I'm learning and what I've learned is that unconditional love doesn't mean you just love someone when they do what you want them to do. Unconditional love is just, it's a feeling of love and gratitude and oneness with the other being. What I also see and feel in a lot of relationships is that one person wants to change the other person subconsciously. And so what happens is they start feeling more like a parent than a partner. They start kind of nitpicking at stuff. You know, why did you do this? Why didn't you do that? You know, it becomes like you remove this powerful vibration, and it became, you know, a just domesticated friendship, a partnership, and those don't have legs. That fails. That doesn't feel nurturing, nourishing, loving, expansive in the body or in the being. And those things need to be reevaluated. And if they're meant to sever, you know, move forward. We got all this life. You know, we got all this beautiful life. It should be peaceful, harmonious, joyful. Just, it should be free expression, free love. That's not discrediting what people have as bad. If people were to draw offense to this video, more than likely they're in a relationship that's struggling. And they need to probably work through these things, or they're in fear to work through them out of fear that they may sever, as if severing is a bad thing. I'm here to tell you, y'all, I've been separated or nearly divorced I've been divorced for a year and a half, and everything changed. Everything changed 2 years ago. And me and my ex-wife were friends. We created 3 kids. We worked together. My life is not broken. Everything is beautiful. I have a partner now that I love and adore. And we support each other. And there's no force. There's no expectations. And that's where we need to come in relationships and in partnerships. We need to come into that oneness regardless of how long we've been together. We need to answer and speak for ourselves. We need to trust in ourselves. We know deep down if something is right for our truth and whether it's not. And how long do we go on if we know intuitively that it's not right? All right, so listen to yourself, trust yourself, love yourself, be open, but remain sovereign. Remain independent and strong and not codependent. You don't need that other person to satisfy your needs. You've got it all within. And so remember, we don't want to parent our partner, and we don't want to be parented. So if you find yourself parenting your partner or being parented, it's time to reevaluate that partnership and ask yourself why and how can I change it? If I want to change it, how can we change it? Because partnership is supposed to be this elegant, beautiful dance. It's supposed to be an integration of all the beautiful human aspects of life, but also a completely separate element where you can get lost in one another. You can get lost in that energy and that frequency, where intimacy isn't just sex. That's old-fashioned. Intimacy needs to expand and needs to be intentional for both parties to come with something new, come with something exciting. Don't be afraid to explore, to get out of the box. You know, how do you get excited when you've been with the same person for 20 years? You can't expect them to do something. You have to look within yourself and be like, I want this to be exciting. I want this to be fun, my life. So how can I show up in this partnership? How can we do something fun and creative? It doesn't have to be sexual. It can be. All of it is one for me, all of it. Not one doesn't have a higher or lower value. Sitting and having tea versus making love, why does it have to make a big difference? If you can connect vibrationally with people, there is no difference. You can get that connection by sitting and having tea and connecting with someone's eyes and connecting with someone's heart as you can making love with them. Hopefully this has been insightful. It's just perspective. I'm just a being sharing something that came through for me to share to you. And so I'm sending lots of love to y'all. Partnership is beautiful. There's the energy in a partnership cannot be duplicated. So embody that presence of it, because it may not be there tomorrow, but if it's there today, keep creating, keep pouring into that feeling, embodying that feeling, and trusting that you're in your soul's alignment. Love y'all.